down state. In Guild Wars 2, when you die, you don't actually die. At least not in the traditional sense of like a World of Warcraft or a Rift. You go into what's called a down state, which is a lot like what you would find in Call of Duty or in a first-person shooter.
Not dead yet.
You actually, you're sort of in a weakened state, and you have a little bar that ticks down. And if you don't have anybody to heal you, or if you don't defeat the monster you're fighting before that bar runs down, then you die. But anyway, that is pretty much the tutorial for the game, and here's some more story exposition, which I'm going to skip. That's just a little box asking me what I thought of the game. I get a leather bag and a buckler for this quest. And it seems like, again, I could be wrong, but it seems like in Guild Wars 2, you don't really get quest rewards for completing dynamic events. You really only get those for completing your personal story missions. Dynamic events give you what's called karma points, which you can use, which you can then use to go purchase better gear. But anyway, this is the open world version of where we just were. We're actually in the game now. We're outside the tutorial. There's lots of other players running around. Maybe not so many as there were when this beta first started.
Fields beyond Shaymore are Kryta's breadbasket.
But what you just saw was the map there. And again, let me press M and show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the map. If you've played Guild Wars 1, it's very similar. You can scroll around, and you see these little diamond-shaped icons. As you explore the world, you come across more and more of them, and they're waypoints, and that is how you fast travel. So you click on the little icon, and it'll ask you if you want to teleport. Well, you click yes if you want to go, and you'll instantly teleport to that location. But as you can see, I actually have a quest here, and that's not to confuse you. This is still it is a quest, but it's a personal story mission. But the little orange quest I got right here, this is a dynamic event. This is something that just kind of popped up in the world. And that's one thing I have noticed about this game, is sometimes the dynamic events can be a bit confusing because the quest instructions, in my opinion, don't really give you too much of don't really do a good job of explaining to you exactly what you're trying to do. And when you're coming to the game, when you're coming into the game, or when you're coming into an area, I should say, without any prior context of what you're doing or why you should be there, it does become a little confusing trying to figure out, you know, like, what's this quest trying to get me to do? What, you know, am I not doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? But apparently I'm supposed to go here and catch some rabbits or something. I don't know. A lot of these dynamic events, especially when you start off, are fairly simplistic. They're not quite the
Greetings.
They're not all that interesting, and that could be a problem I have with the game. Like seriously, I'm level 1 and I'm picking up rabbits out of a watermelon patch. That's hardly that's hardly an improvement from some of the more menial tasks we've seen previously. But anyway, that dynamic event just kind of went away. But anyway, my personal story says I have to help the people around Shaymore, and this is a perfect example for me to show you guys another aspect of the game other than dynamic events and personal story. And I don't know what you call these specific things, but if you look on the map here as I'm running towards where my quest is telling me to go, you see all these little heart-shaped icons. These are, I'll call them heart quests from here on out. And they function as probably the closest thing to your standard quest progression that you'll find in Guild Wars 2. And what I mean by that is that you will go through here and you'll have a quest like that one right there that just automatically pops up in front of you. And you'll have to complete it, and there's more than just one different there's more than just one thing that you can do to complete the quest, and the more that you do, the further that little progress bar fills up, and when the progress bar fills up all the way, you have completed the quest. And once you've completed the quest, you can actually purchase. You get karma points for doing that, and you can actually purchase gear and weapons from the individuals you just helped, because they will offer they'll turn into karma point merchants, and you can purchase gear from them. So in a way, you are getting quest rewards, but you have a lot more choice as to what you want, and you don't have to spend your karma points. Again, you don't have to spend your karma points, per every quest hub. Like, I can just do a lot of these things here, never spend my money, and wait until I'm like level 20 or so, and then go and spend a lot of money on gear that I'm probably going to need a little bit more than gear that I got when I was level 4. Anyway, this is just the first time I was here, we actually had a dynamic event happen where some centaurs attacked the fields, and I'm in my experience, most of these dynamic events do actually repeat. So I'm actually hoping that it happens again, just so I can show you guys a dynamic event that's actually somewhat exciting and somewhat actually worth doing. But my one knock about these hard quests that I do is that while this one is seemingly pretty quick and straightforward, a lot of them, in my opinion, take a bit too long and can be pretty boring and miserable. A good example would be like, well, what if that dynamic event that I showed you a few minutes ago where you're just catching rabbits in a field? Imagine having to do that, but catching like 30 rabbits just to complete the quest. Either something needs to be changed, or the amount of progress you make or the amount of progress needs to be up significantly, so you're not stuck doing the same quest for 20 and 30 minutes. But it doesn't really look like there's going to be a dynamic event here, so I'm just going to continue to finish my heart quest so I can show you guys what all is available from the karma point merchant. And like I said, mainly right now I'm actually only doing about one thing. I can actually, if I want to, I can feed the cows, or I can defend the fields. And defending the fields would be great if the centaurs would invade, but if the centaurs will not invade, all I can do is feed the cows and stomp the wormholes. So I'm going to feed a cow now. And let's take some more food and feed one more cow, maybe 2 more cows, and that should be plenty. Alright, there we go. Okay, wait. As I completed that, it looks like we're gonna have a dynamic event now. Okay, instead of centaurs this time, it's bandits. And there's 10 bandit waves now we're gonna have to fight our way through. And I should show you, actually. I took a lot of damage this time, but every class has a healing ability.
Grab a bucket and stand
because
by.
unlike a lot of MMOs, there's no true healers and tanks. Anybody, it's all, this game is very situational. Anybody can kind of do, any one class can fulfill any one role. So, as a warrior, I can be DPS, but I also have a lot of survivability. I can heal myself. I have the means to avoid damage when I need to. So this game tries to shy away from the Holy Trinity concept and retain some healers and DPS. And as a personal preference, I'm not entirely opposed to the whole idea of the Holy Trinity. I think the reason that it has lasted so long as such a fixture in MMORPGs is because it has worked for so long. That sort of concept actually originated in Pen and Paper Dungeons and Dragons, and it was picked up in games like EverQuest, and it's probably the most simplistic and easiest way to encourage players to work together interdependently. And a lot of these dynamic events like I'm doing right now that you see that I'm working towards and helping my group finish, we are working together, but we're not really being interdependent. Like we're not even. There's probably, I would say, at least 10 people within this dynamic event alongside me here, and we are all kind of.
Save my hay!
We're all kind of solo,
Water, you can help.
working by ourselves here in a sense for the same goal. It doesn't feel, there's not a lot of interdependence. In other words, and that really, to me, the interdependence factor is what is a lot of what the Holy Trinity actually brought to the table. But without that, and again, these dynamic events, at least initially, in my opinion, just kind of feel like Zerd Fest. You just kind of either you outnumber your enemy or your enemy outnumbers you. There's not a lot of room for coordination or strategy, and then you can kind of see why that might be the case. I mean, because if you have a dynamic event with 100 people, you're not really going to have a lot of fun if you're trying to complete an event or a task that really requires you to put forth a lot of time and effort into figuring out, what you're doing. In other words, you're not really going to be able to complete something quite so easily. But okay, I just died here. Now I can still wait to be revived, and I suppose I can just sit here and see if anyone actually comes by and revives me. It would be so nice if they would, but
My cows think.
I don't think they are.
Everyone who eats beef and drinks milk thinks.
But I completed the dynamic event, and it looks like oh yes, thank you, somebody's actually reviving me. And I died a lot, but I'll say I'm not really a melee-focused player. I like ranged classes, and quite frankly, I find that melee classes have always, ever since WoW, melee classes have always kind of been second-rate compared to ranged classes. There's just a lot of complications